Welcome to Retail's Most Wanted, the podcast that examines the latest issues related to organized retail crime and how retailers and policymakers are fighting back against today's organized crime syndicates. Coming up on today's show, a conversation with Bobby Haskins, the Vice President of Retail Partnerships at Auror. But first, this message from our sponsors. Retail's Most Wanted is brought to you in partnership with the Attorney General Alliance, where U.S. State Attorneys General collaborate on emerging legal issues and the rule of law at home and across borders. Learn more at agalliance.com. Retail's Most Wanted is brought to you in partnership with LVT, securing physical environments through intelligent automation. Learn more at lvt.com. That's lvt.com. Bobby, thanks so much for taking some time to hang out with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to get your perspective on all the great work that you guys are doing and how it impacts the organized retail crime issue. So let's start there. Can you give us just an overview of Auror's mission and how it aims to address organized retail crime?
Yeah, at Auror, the last 12 years, we've been focused on how do we help retailers report, solve, and prevent crime. And our mission is to make sure and hopefully prevent crime in the communities and reduce the violence and the loss that we're seeing in the communities. So we're a retail crime intelligence platform. We bring together different data sets from all the different retailers, and we help retailers identify the most prolific individuals impacting them, but not only them, all of the retail community.
Yeah. One of the things you guys say is that 10% of the offenders are responsible for like 90% of the loss and violence across the United States. So what implications are there for retail crime prevention strategies knowing those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally retailers are doing nothing but trying to get to that number. They're trying to build. They're trying to look at incident reports. They're trying to look at different incident reports from retailers and say, who are my most prolific? We do that automatically for them. And now you can actually put the strategies in place. What are they doing? Where are they going? When are they hitting me the most? Who are they working with? So saving that time, you can build a structure with your organized retail crime team to focus just on that 10%, and then to start to see where they're reselling, where is that product going, and focus on that fence, focus on the head of the snake, as we always say. And if you can cut that off, you're going to stop those individuals from coming back into your store. And then you layer in additional prevention strategies around violence, right? License plate recognition, some of the other early alerting we can get out of the platform. That's just informing your associates. There's a bad individual that just pulled into your parking lot and they're 4 times more likely to be violent. I need to avoid, I need to report, and I need to call the police.
Mm-hmm. I would think that that's like the most hopeful message that like a retailer can hear, is to say, well, I don't have to go get 100% of the bad guys in order to stop the problem, in order to make a real difference on the problem. If I can get the right 10%, suddenly my life got a lot better.
Well, and the business of retailing, you spend billions of dollars trying to make this amazing in-store experience, right? You want the good guests to come in and shop. And if you're focused in on trying to restrict or add friction to every single guest, they're going to go shop somewhere else. But at the end of the day, you're only looking at that small percentage. And so you can be tactical in nature and not add friction where it's not needed. And your good guests are going to keep coming back. You protect that expensive store experience and you're driving sales. So it's a bottom line impact for these retailers.
I love how you guys are numbers driven too. So the other one that I loved was that repeat offenders are 4 times more likely to be violent or aggressive. So how does your platform help retailers identify and manage these repeat offenders and then help them know what type of specific measures they should take?
Yeah, so in the platform, instead of focusing on the individual incident or event that happened, we aggregate those events to a person profile view. So in Auror, you can see what Bobby Haskins has done at every single retail store in my organization, and then we add tags onto that. So he's been 4 times, 4 times he's used a weapon, 10 times he's been physically abusive. So we surface all of that up in one single view, empowering the retailers to say, all right, I know every time Bobby comes in, he's stealing this product. He always has that knife on him. And that is what makes a difference when you empower that entire front line with that actual intelligence to make the right decision versus making a bad decision or making no decision at all.
I'm hoping that's just an example. Otherwise, I feel less safe knowing that you've committed these crimes and have a knife on you.
It's always easier making me the criminal than you or
that's
someone
right.
else.
I'll ask anything you want now just to make sure that you don't pull that knife on me. I know that Auror works with some of the big name retailers out there, like Best Buy, Lululemon, Victoria's Secret, Walmart, and along those lines. I wonder if you could share with us and with our audience some success stories or case studies that highlight the impact that you've made with these companies when it comes to their loss prevention efforts.
Yeah, one retailer in particular, one of the first that joined the platform, they were about 6 weeks into their rollout with Auror. They had moved away from a case management system they'd been using for 17 years. They were 6 weeks in, and had an individual running up and down the West Coast, and he would come in, he would pop open the Apple case, steal a bunch of iPads, iPods, whatever, throw them into a baby stroller, and then walk out the front door. It was the same MO in all of those stores. But the stores kept reporting that MO, kept saying what he was doing, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he appears in Pryor, Oklahoma. But because within Auror, the notifications, the feed, the visibility to the top offenders, when that individual pulled into Pryor, Oklahoma, the AP in the store recognized him, called the police and said, I have a high impact offender that just walked into my building, here's what he's going to do. He did everything that he normally does, and as he walked out of the store, he was arrested by that law enforcement agency, and he's currently sitting in jail. So in 6 weeks, that data network, that network effect we try to build within the platform worked out. There is no way hitting up and down the West Coast that someone in Pryor, Oklahoma would ever have any clue who that individual is without that network effect.
I've been to Pryor, Oklahoma, so I know if that's a place you're trying to get off the grid and not be noticed, it's a pretty good place. So you wouldn't think that that's necessarily where you're going to walk in and have a problem. I was wondering about this because I mentioned what in my mind at least I picture as two very different types of retail operations. If you go in to steal from a Walmart, it's massive, right?
Yeah.
And you can go places in Walmart where you're not around other people, which might make things easier to steal, but you got a long distance to cover to get out of the Walmart.
Gotta get out that door. Yeah.
Whereas I think about a store that like a smaller one, Lululemon or Victoria's Secret, to me, they're like smaller retail operations. So if you go in, you're just kind of grabbing a bunch of stuff and you're out the door. In a lot of those places, though, you got to get out of the mall still. So I'm just wondering, like, what's the difference? Do you see any difference in tactics or in the ability to combat ORC efforts when it comes to like a massive space like a Walmart or a Target versus a smaller space like a Lululemon or Victoria's Secret?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference we see in tactics is the resource that the retailer puts in place in the store that is trained LP or AP individual. Walmart puts a lot of resource in that role, so they have individuals trained to watch, to see what's happening, and to be able to hopefully make a prevention or deterrence. What we're seeing consistently over the last couple of years is individual retailers are moving away from that, and they're focused more on how can we get our store managers to be the best possible witness, report the best possible intelligence, and let that bubble up to the individual investigators, the retail crime investigators, so that they can go find where is that person going to resell that product and try to close down that location, so you're not playing whack-a-mole over and over again with these same people that are just going to try to boost the product. Focus on where they're reselling. That's the biggest change. So let them do their thing, be the best possible witness, and then it'll catch up to them through the platform.
Tell me about your license plate recognition efforts and how that plays into all of this.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at last year alone in the platform, we've got 2.5 million incidents that were reported into Auror. We've identified 252,000 repeat people in the platform just in the US. And those individuals, like we talked about, they're 4 times more likely to be violent. And how do they get to these retail locations? They're usually driving cars, and we layer on license plate recognition in the platform. So a retailer installs an LPR camera in their parking lot, and we help them automate the hot list. So we had a retailer recently just do 55 stores, and we automated their hot list. They enrolled 109,000 vehicles of interest on day one. Wow. So 109,000 vehicles have been involved in previous incidents. Now, every time that vehicle pulls back into the parking lot, that retailer gets a notification, but cars don't commit crimes, right? The individual commits the crime. So they get this notification, they see the car, they see all of the people that have used that car before, and they see how violent they've been in the past. And that's situational awareness. Now I know I got to avoid Bobby Haskins again because he just pulled in to the parking lot. He's just walking into my store, and he's always violent and always uses a weapon. I just need to call the police. So that intelligence takes LPR to a next level. I call it intelligent LPR versus just letting you know there's a vehicle there. We're letting you know here's the vehicle, and here's all the people that have used that vehicle before.
You've launched a platform specifically for law enforcement. I'd love to know more about that and how that's helpful.
Yeah, we've launched this platform about 4 weeks ago, and really what it is providing law enforcement the space to build their own investigations, to work directly with retailers, and to also access that LPR data from all of the retailers. So there's benefits. It's flipping the coin, is what it's changing what's normally happened. Normally right now it's retailers going to law enforcement and saying, can you take this case? We've built this case for you. With this new platform, law enforcement will be able to build their own cases, be able to pull in retailers, be able to help solve this large organized retail crime problem. But what we see elsewhere in the globe is law enforcement has a lot of license plates. They're usually working homicides, a lot of other cases. And if they can tap into that retail LPR data, search for a license plate, see where that vehicle frequents, they're going to be able to solve a lot more crimes in the communities versus just retail crime. It's going to be crime in general they'll be able to solve.
A lot of this technology 10 years ago would have seemed like science fiction. So where we are today and knowing sort of that Moore's law and the hockey stick curve that comes with technology, where do you think we are in 5 years, both in terms of the technology we can use and orchestrate in order to address the issue, and maybe how much progress we've made toward addressing the issue?
Yeah, I think if I look in the next 5 years, the first thing that I think will change isn't actually about technology. Right now, we're all individually most retailers are siloed. And we're trying to work this organized retail crime through paper, through Excel, through different ways. And we're somewhat collaborating. What will happen in the next 5 years is we will all be collaborating, capturing the same data in the same platform, working with law enforcement. And I think having that ability is going to save everyone time, and then being able to, as an industry, focus on the top 10% across the country responsible for 91% of loss. That will change the game. So that's where I see it first happening. I think the second thing that you're going to see from technology, when you look at video analytics, when you look at everything else that's coming, I mean, the ability to upload a video and be able to have the video tell you what that individual's wearing, what potentially they're stealing, that's the next space that we're going to move into in the next 5 years, of getting that intelligence into a platform to say, there's a behavior here that doesn't look correct. You should review it and see if there's a larger problem.
Bobby Haskins from Auror, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. That's it for this episode of Retail's Most Wanted. Thanks as always to our presenting sponsors, LVT and the Attorney General Alliance. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button so you can catch each new episode. We drop a new one every 2 or 3 weeks, about 3 times a month we'll get an episode out. We're also on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on YouTube. Links to all that in the show notes below. Thanks as always, everyone, for being with us, and keep up the good fight.